Okay, let us continue. So in the first video, we look at the definition of our AutoCAD coordinate system, the Cartesian coordinate system. We look at absolute. We went and saw how we're going to input our information for the absolute method in XY value. So now we're going to move to the second one, which is the relative, and this one shows the at x comma y. So let's move to our relative right here. Now this is our positive, negative, trouble, and relative coordinate system. You can see you still have the origin right here, the 0, 0, and just as in the absolute method, our very first point, it doesn't matter which one of the three ways you use, it's always going to be an absolute starting point. It's always in reference to the 0, 0. However, the relative coordinate system gives you a lot more freedom. It gives you sort of like the advantage of thinking once you get the very first point, you can simply think of this as from the location that I am right now, I need to move certain distance on the y, on the x direction, and certain distance on the y direction. And at this time, it could be either negative or positive. As you can see right here, depending on the direction that we're going to be moving right here, then we can be either moving on x or y, but we can be moving positive x, positive y right here, or we can be moving negative x, positive y, or negative x, negative y right here, or positive x, negative y right here. So it all depends, but it gives you a little more freedom because then you can simply use the previous point, and that previous point behaves as if you were using that particular point as your origin temporarily for just one point. You use that as your reference. So you're saying from this point, I'm going to move X number of units on X and X number of units on Y. Okay, so positive and negatives if you're going to move in one direction or the other. So let's look at the relative method of inputting our information. There's this sample right here. Okay, so this one says at. For this one, we have to use the at symbol, which basically says from this point. It takes the at symbol takes a temporary point and says from this point I'm going to move certain distance in the x and y direction. So I'm going to delete these lines for now. I'm just going to select them and I'm going to get rid of them and I'm going to delete them. So I have those points. And you can see that my first point, if you see the grid right here, I'm actually at 1, 1. The increments of my grid is going to be in 1 unit increments. Okay, so in order for me to start, I'm going to go to line. And my very first point, as I said, is going to be an absolute point. So 1, 1, enter. Okay, so you can see there that I'm starting already at 1, 1 because the grid is there. Now from there, my next coordinate point says that I'm going to go at 2, 0. So from this point, I'm going to move 2 units on x. The x is always the first number, and I'm not moving anywhere on y. So if I'm moving on x but not on y, my x has a value, my y does not have a value because it's not moving anywhere up or down. So I'm just going to go and type at. So you press and hold the shift key and then you go to the at symbol and then you simply type 2, 0, and then it gives me that line. Now you'll notice now that this one right here shows at 1, 2. That means I'm going to move 1 unit on x, but I'm moving 2 units on y. So at 1, which is the x value, comma 2, and that gives me value. So when I moved in both directions, the x and the y, both x and y have values. If I only move on y, but I do not move on x, then my y has a value, but my x is going to be 0. Okay, so in this case, I am at this point. So that's what the relative method allows me to do. From this point, when I say at, that's from this point, I'm moving now, I'm going on the opposite direction. I'm going back on x, which is a negative value, a negative direction on x. So I'm going to go -2, comma, 1. And the 1 is positive because I'm simply going on the y direction right here. And I hit enter, and then it connects me to that point. Now you'll see from here that I'm going actually negative on x, because I continue to go negative in this direction, but I'm also going negative on y because I'm going down this way. So, and I actually have this number, it's supposed to be a 3, because you can see there's 1, 2, 3 grids right here. If I were to do 2, then it's just going to take me somewhere right here. But I'm gonna use the original one was supposed to be a 3. So -1, comma, -3. I simply type that and say it goes way out here because I inputted my negative values without what. Someone can tell me what I did wrong right here. Okay, if you notice under my command line right here, I missed the at symbol, which means it went to the 0, 0 and gave me an absolute value. So I have to retract this right here. Now I can go and say at -1, comma, -3. See, that is the difference between the absolute and the relative. If I don't use my at symbol, it's going to go and use this 0, 0, my origin, my axis, my starting point, as my reference. Okay, so once I do that, then I can simply hit enter, and I am done with this part right here. So at x, comma, y, from this point to this point, at x 1 unit, comma, y 2 units on y, and I just keep going around. Okay, so that is the way that we are going to input our relative method information. Okay, so we'll continue with the polar on the next video. Okay, so this is the relative way of inputting our information under the AutoCAD's coordinate system.